And we are live. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday, right? December the 7th. Tuesday, December the 7th. And we are moving on to a new chapter. A new chapter. Hebrews chapter 12. We're jumping into a new chapter. We've been in 11 for a while, but here at the early word this morning, we are going to a new chapter. So, good morning to everybody jumping on early. Hey, Shelly, glad to have you on. Lucy, good morning. Good to have you on. How you liking that cold Idaho weather? We're getting a little bit of chilliness here in San Diego today. I think the high today is 55. So if you are watching somewhere outside of SoCal, you're not feeling sorry for us at all. But the Southern Californians are like, whoa, it's frigid today. And we're actually going to get some rain too. So two big deals, sub 60 temperature and rain. It's the apocalypse here in San Diego, evidently. So Nona, good morning. Patty, good morning. Robert, good morning. Cindy, good morning. Who we got on here? Someone on Facebook. I miss you guys so much as well. Raina, good morning. Debbie, good morning. John Cumby, good morning. Becky, good morning. All right. We've got ourselves a little bit of a crowd. It's fun to start to see it was 30s in Texas. Eee! See, this is why y'all move to Texas. Why you move to Texas? I mean, you got good barbecue, but cold weather. So I don't know why you're moving to Texas. So, Debbie, good morning to you as well. Glad you're on. Who else we got here joining with us today? All right. Hey, Chase, how are you doing? Carol, good morning. Great. Well, hey, let's jump into Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 through 4, and just going to camp out on the first word and then let that kind of set the stage for the next few verses. But chapter 12 starts with this giant word, therefore. Now, if you went to seminary, you went to Bible college, or you've heard a preacher every once in a while probably say this. This is not me saying this, and this may be even just English teachers in general. But anytime you see the word therefore, you're supposed to ask the question, what? What's the question you're supposed to ask? If you hear the word therefore, the question is, what is the therefore? Why is it say therefore? Because therefore is like a summation word. It's like in light of something, in light of what I just said, in light of what you just experienced, in light of whatever, like something previous has all resulted into this declarative statement about to be made. Therefore. What's the therefore? Therefore. And we know we've been through 11 chapters now of Hebrews, but in particular, we went through an entire chapter, chapter 11, oftentimes referred to as the hall of faith, looking at all the men and women that God used by faith, right? Go back to earlier episodes of the early word for the last 2 weeks. We've been in that chapter looking at faith. And then the writer of Hebrews, starting chapter 12, verse 1, starts with the word therefore. In light of all the things we've been talking about, in light of all those examples of faith we've just looked at, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses, that huge crowd of witnesses, that is those people that we looked at. All those people mentioned there in chapter 11, and and then a whole lot of others outside of just those listed in chapter 11. Right, because the verses 32 through 38 of chapter 11, I mean, he gives all these different descriptions of this happened, and this includes those that we talked about yesterday that got sawed in half and all that kind of stuff. Like, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, therefore, because we have seen such incredible and exemplary examples of faith from men and women of ages past. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a large or huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us, here's what we should do. Here's our call. Then let us do this in response to that, and being inspired by that, and seeing examples of that, and knowing that it's possible and not impossible. Because of all of that, let us then strip off every weight that slows us down. Whatever it is that might want to slow us down from running the race that God has set before us. Strip it off, right? Like, I mean, I'm not going to do that. I'm just like, woo, like just take it off. Take it off. Strip off every weight that slows you down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. Right? Oftentimes, what we experience is we stop running the race because we think we're not qualified to run because the sin disqualifies us for some reason or another. That is a big, fat, audacious, hell-bound lie. You are not disqualified to run the race that Christ has set before you because of your sin. Your sin has been paid for and stripped off of you so you can run freely. But many of us continue to return back to our sin, or we let the sin still be something that we carry with us wherever we go. But you and I in Christ are not identified by our sin. We are identified by the righteousness of Christ that he has clothed us with. So strip off the sin, put on your running clothes, put on your running shoes, put on the righteousness, be clothed with the righteousness of Christ. And it says, and then let us run with endurance the race that God has set before us. Some of us have quit running. Some of us have stopped on the second mile of a 3-mile race. Some of us have made excuses. But a part of looking back at that cloud of witnesses is to realize those men and women, even if they were called and used by God and to be exemplary examples of faith, do you think they were without sin? Do you think they were perfect? You think they didn't have sin that marked them? I mean, just look at the rap sheet of Abraham, of Moses, of some of these people. Rahab, we talked about Rahab. I mean, she was a prostitute. I mean, we have examples in here of people being used by God who, by the world standards, should have been disqualified to be used by the king of the universe, but rather he says, no, 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 no. You're not disqualified. I have called you to run, and I have made a way through Jesus Christ to have you forgiven of your sin and to keep going. Keep going. If God didn't kick you out of the race, why are you kicking yourself out of the race? If God didn't put you on the bench, then why are you sitting on the bench, right? You are still qualified, and God desires for you to keep pursuing him, to be used by him, to share with others about him. So he says, so let us take that off. Let's that sin that so easily can entrap us or trip us up. Let's run with endurance the race that God has set before us. And it says that we do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Many of us jump out of the race because we put our eyes on other people in the race or other things of the race or other focal points than Jesus. When we keep our eyes on Jesus, we keep our eyes on who we are in Christ. When we keep our eyes on Jesus, we remember we are the righteousness of God. When we keep our eyes on Jesus, we're not comparing ourselves to the people who are running to our right and to our left. We are looking at the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the humble servant named Jesus, who says, let's keep going. Keep your eyes focused on Christ. I'm convinced that much of our unwillingness to run is a result of our lack of focus on the right one. Much of our unwillingness to run is because of our lack of proper focus on the right one. Keep your eyes on Jesus, the champion, that initiates and he perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross. So remember this, he endured the cross. It's like the writer saying, don't forget why you should focus on this Jesus. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross. What was the purpose of the cross? Why did he go to the cross? You, me, our sin. But his unbelievable abounding grace upon grace love for us. But he said it was joyous to him if he could reclaim his lost sons and daughters, if he could remove their sin that brings disease to their life, if he can make a way. He says it was joy for him. It was an honor to him. He said, it is my joy to endure the shame of the cross, because what I gain in return is a reestablished relationship with my sons and my daughters. We're sitting on the bench who stopped running, who disqualified themselves, and I am requalifying. Get back in the race. Man, I'm preaching this morning. Preaching. He endured the cross, disregarding his shame, and now he is seated at the place of honor beside God's throne. Think of all the hostility he endured from sinful people. Think of all that he endured from sinful people. He didn't care because he was focused on what God's agenda was for his life. He was focused on finishing the race. And for Jesus, the finishing of the race was to go all the way to the cross and to endure its shame, to die the death we deserve to die in order to die, but to overcome death, to raise from the dead, to snatch death, not just from himself, snatch death for our lives, and to place the resurrected power of Christ inside of us. Think of all the hostility he endured from sinful people, but it didn't matter. It did not deter him. You may endure hostility from sinful people. There might be people who say, you shouldn't be running the race. You shouldn't be in the game. Bull. You focus on the right one. You listen to what Christ says. It says, and then you won't become weary and give up. Many of us become weary and give up because we have let the voices of the hostile, sinful people, the hostility from those sinful people, become louder than the voice of the creator of the cosmos, who says, I've called you to run. So it says, after all, you have not given up your lives in your struggle against sin. Today, I just want to encourage you, therefore, in light of all that you've seen, God uses great but yet broken people to see God do great and miraculous works. And that includes you and I. And so since we're surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses, and you could add a list of names, right? More and more people you've seen when they have given their lives fully over to Jesus, what the result of that is, not just for their life, but how that impacted the lives of those around them. And thank the Lord they didn't choose to say, you know what, I'm done running. I'm tired. I'm just done. Or I just can't, I'm not worthy. I'm not qualified. That's not to be our excuse, because it's not the truth. The truth is you are qualified. You are called. You are loved. You have been pursued. The cross is proof to you of that. And so now make your life count. Make your life count. And leverage it for the goodness and the joy of Jesus. So I'm praying that over my life today, and I'm praying it over your life as well. Such good stuff. Such good stuff. We'll end right there. So may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May his face shine upon you. And may today be a day that you find joy in the Lord, because you have either continued running the race or you chose to re-enter the race, but you're still going on the race, and you're not going to grow weary in doing what's good. So I'll see you again tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we will continue in chapter 12 of Hebrews at the early word. So God bless you all. So grateful for you. See you tomorrow.